Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to TMIC's meditations. Our meditations are Monday through Friday, and we are focused on the theme in these meditations of liberation. Each day we begin with a short talk. These talks are derived from our ontological workshops, Whole Life Architecture, which is a community of people that are learning to recreate their life by design as opposed to tolerating their life by default. And so we extract some elements from the Whole Life Architecture program to frame these talks, and then we move into a meditation, and we have a couple of different meditations that we go through. Some are guided, some are silent watcher observer meditations. So welcome. And this morning, we've been talking for the last couple of weeks about suffering and how, as human beings, we create the context and the conditions for our own suffering. And we've been looking at different ways that suffering shows up in our individual lives. And those who've been joining the meditations have been encouraged to evaluate and look at where they are experiencing suffering in their lives. And the key thing to take away from what we've been talking about and where I'd like to go today, which is into compassion, is that our suffering is largely self-generated. That most of the things in our life that we experience some form of suffering around are self-induced, primarily because we have not established the state of compassion with ourself. This can sound confusing on the surface because when we typically think of compassion, we think of what we refer to as more of an emotional state of feelings of compassion towards someone, almost like a version of sympathy. But that is not actually what we mean by compassion when we talk about it, which we derive, incidentally, the way to understand compassion has been a well thought out and walked path in the Buddhist and the Taoist traditions to understand oneself. When we talk about compassion, we talk about a state of total oneness, acceptance, and openness with oneself, which then allows total acceptance and openness and oneness with the world. So compassion is the antithesis to suffering. When we suffer, it's because we are not coming from a place of compassion with ourself, and therefore we also don't experience it in the world. We don't experience that openness, that oneness, that self-trust that is available when we wholly and completely accept ourselves as we are, even though we are a human becoming and we are always evolving. You see, this goal-orientated society that we have created and that all of us have been conditioned and immersed inside of creates conditions that are challenging for compassion to thrive until we have the inner realization. But so much of our lives are spent looking outside of ourselves, looking at the world of effects, looking at the conditions of the world without, and being in reaction to them, that so few of us have taken the time to ask the question, who am I? And to begin to develop an open and trusting, a compassionate relationship with oneself. And the impacts of this are profound because in the absence of that compassionate relationship with ourself, we experience life mostly as suffering. We experience life mostly as a grind, a struggle, a fight. Have you noticed today how everything in our language, in the media, or you know, even just in regular dialogue, is a fight? We can't stop fighting. There's this solution to fighting that's quite remarkable. If you want to stop fighting, you stop fighting. Nothing else is required. But we fight cancer, we fight hunger, we fight the Republicans, we fight the Democrats, we fight homelessness. We're always in a fight. Apparently, there's a war against Christmas that's been going on for decades. And so when you see through the lens that you engage the world with, nothing but war and fighting, you experience yourself through that lens and you perpetuate the suffering. We even relate to the unknown of our life as something we need to prepare for, as though we were preparing to go into battle. We hedge and we build fortresses around ourselves and our lives to protect against the what if one day this happens to me. So we're always in the past or the future, never in the present, always preparing for some kind of fight or war. This is the way we are leaning into and viewing the world. And all of this just perpetuates the experience of suffering of life. I mean, where's the joy in that? Where's the creativity in that? Where's the openness in that? In order to fight, proverbially, as a metaphor, you have to, if you're going to punch someone, you have to close your fist and try to keep your fist closed for hours and hours or days and days and see how well you do with that. You can only keep your fist closed so long before the muscles, the tendons, and the bones will actually start to ache, before you will start to suffer. But an open hand can stay open for your entire life, as a metaphor. So most of us are living lives as clenched fists. We're not open, we're closed. We're not joyful and peaceful, we're in fighting mode. And because of that, we suffer. Liberation is all about openness. That's the theme of our meditations. It's about openness to possibility, openness to yourself, openness to others. It means being able, through your liberation, to be what is required and called for in any present situation that emerges, without needing to be a fist in preparation for a one day maybe situation. When we are liberated, we are free to act because we have no attachment or expectation to whatever might arise from the situation. We are not even trying to predict the situation. We can be a genuine and of high integrity and authentic response to the situation. Even the people in our lives who we may see often, maybe it's a work colleague or someone, we tend to project onto those people who their going to be and how they're going to show up based on past behavior, instead of being so open to the possibility that they might surprise us and show up differently. Being liberated means to be totally open to whatever wants to show up without bringing the past or projecting the future onto it. But in order to get to this state, we have to stop fighting. Because if we're always in fight mode, we're always in preparation for the next shoe to drop. Now, where does this come from? This persistent fight mode. I know we learned it, inherited it through our culture, but it originated in someone at some point in human history who presented the idea we must always be prepared. Your preparedness, incidentally, can be one that is outward focused, where you're hedging and protecting and ready to fight, which is what most of us in our culture have learned. Or your preparedness could be one of self-trust, not outward focused. You don't care what's going to happen because you know that you trust yourself to respond appropriately to the situation. We do not need to adhere to a certain role. We do not need to be in a certain environment in order to handle the situation. We are the embodiment, through self-trust, of the ability to respond appropriately to any situation that arises. We don't need to limit ourselves, pigeonhole ourselves into a set of circumstances or criteria. By connecting profoundly to who and what we are, and having a connection to that why or that intention for who we're committed to being in the world, this is the path of opening to compassion to yourself. Remember, it's not an emotional feeling as we tend to think about it. It is self-trust. And when we have trust of self, there's no need for aggression. There's no need to fight. You'll notice in your life you can start to slow down. There's no need for speed. We're not rushing, because where rushing comes from is the fear of missing something, missing out, losing time. We can't be in the present moment, because what if the unknown of the next moment requires something from us and we are not ready, we are not prepared. So we must rush, again, steeped in fear, steeped in a closed fist, steeped in fight mode. And so really our suffering is a choice of our own making. If we approach the world from a place of a closed fist, we can guarantee we are going to experience suffering. We're going to be in a persistent fight. And by definition, fighting always creates suffering in ourselves or in others. Because we don't trust ourselves, because we haven't been connected to a level of compassion to get to know ourselves, to become friends with ourselves, to love ourselves. We turn our gaze outward and we get ready for a fight because we do not trust and love ourselves and know ourselves. So the antidote to suffering, which we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, is shifting our gaze from that is outside of us, from the without, and turning it to the within, and profoundly connecting to ourself, so that we can also then connect to others, and then together we can connect to the wider life world that we call nature. That, incidentally, is TMIC's vision statement. Reconnecting people to themselves, to each other, and to nature, including our own inner nature, including our own inner capacity for compassion, self-trust, and self-love that provides us the foundation to shift from fighting to loving, from a closed fist to an open hand. So we're going to talk more about this week, some of the nuances around compassion and self-trust and self-knowledge, and how it creates the foundation for creativity, for us to connect to the creator within and begin to create a life by design versus tolerating a life by default. I'm going to invite Mignon now to join us this morning and guide us through the neurosculpting meditation for the day.
Thank you so much, Chad, and hello, everyone. In today's practice, we'll gently shift a limiting belief or fear and embrace a new perception, one that better serves and supports you, creating space, like that open hand that Chad spoke about. Along the journey, I'll be offering what I call cues and toggles and creative imagery. So you might hear me spell out words or dial up or down or invite playful or even bizarre imagining, all intentionally designed to give your experience that part of the 5-step neurosculpting meditation process. A process that helps to calm the nervous system. It primes the brain for creating supportive ideas and gives you agency in how you move through life. And I'll be guiding this meditation for the next week or so, allowing you to build familiarity, deepen your awareness, and strengthen the effects of this meditation. I've found that practicing the same meditation can be supportive in helping to reinforce desired outcomes and create lasting shifts over time. I hope it serves you in a good way. So let's begin this meditation with an inhale and an exhale. A little light stretching of the neck or relaxing the shoulders or rolling out the wrists. Getting aware of the body supported in this particular moment by the surface beneath you. What points of contact do you notice between your body and the chair or the cushion or the ground? Inviting your awareness of how your bones and muscles would like to settle just a little more. Letting their weight sink down toward the ground, the way gravity invites you to stick to the earth, rooted. You might notice your breath enabling your body to settle into this moment. You can notice the inhale and exhale, the speed and the depth. What if you could follow that exhale far and long and soft out of the body so you could become aware of the next inhale. Deep in, effortless out. This is your breath breathing itself, filling you and emptying you, inviting your body to do what it does best, to be right here, right now. You can lengthen that breath if you'd like. You can slow it down, spread it out as your body settles deeper, easier onto the surface. And what about your space in this particular moment supports your comfort? Is it the familiar room? Is it something else like a scent or a soft texture like a blanket or a pillow? Maybe you'd like to bring to mind a soothing memory or association to contribute to your comfort in this one and only moment. Your body is supported, your breath is serving you. And you are invited to stretch into your own playful mind. What would it be like to imagine that you were running fast and far as part of a wolf pack? Could you imagine your strength, loyalty, and cooperation as part of a family of wolves? How would that feel to see through the eyes of a wolf? Or what would it be like if your fingers were webbed? Would it be easier to fan yourself when you were hot? Or could you swim faster with webbed hands? And it might be easier to cup water if you had webbed hands. How strange would that be? This is your creative mind stretching into itself. This is your body breathing and settling. I would remind you the story belongs to you, a story that looks at a fear or challenge and invites you to embrace it from a different vantage point that might be in better alignment. If you could bring to mind a situation, emotion, or belief, something recent or ongoing that has caused discomfort, what comes up for you? Maybe something like insecurity or LACK or something else? And maybe there are colors, textures, or patterns that stand out to you in reference to this emotion or belief. Is it metal and spiky, dark and heavy? Maybe it's sticky. Or perhaps there's a specific temperature, hot or clammy. You might even notice subtle or obvious sensations. Maybe there's a tightening in your throat, a coldness in your hands, or a pit in your stomach. It could be something else entirely. What do you notice if you imagine a sensation at all? And your breath is breathing, and your body is settled, and your creative mind is stretching and can go wherever you want it to go. And because you are the creator of this story, you get to transform the discomfort, fear, or belief into something that better serves. So perhaps there is a word that best supports you at this moment. What comes to mind? A word like COURAGE, courage, strength, or empowered. What does your creative mind notice when you give it permission to release discomfort? How amazing is it that you can stretch your imagination to create something that supports you in a better way? Because your breath is breathing and your body is right here. Perhaps you notice a shift when you introduce this better way that is more supportive. What do you notice? If the colors were dark, maybe they shift to brighter hues. Or if the textures were metallic and spiky, maybe you imagine them being shaved down to a smooth silk. Or if it was sticky or heavy, perhaps that dries up to granules that blow away with your exhale. Or maybe you perceive something else entirely. Maybe you simply experience space, spaciousness. And if you perceive a shift or a new feeling, a sensation that is different from before, you are invited to mark that with your non dominant hand, where it will remind you tomorrow of the change you experienced today. Or you're welcome to make a gesture to remind you of this experience. And to remind yourself of this story, you are welcome to give it a word or phrase that commemorates this shift. Maybe the word itself, or perhaps a song comes to mind, one that captures the essence of this experience, a melody that can instantly bring you back to this moment. And with your motion, word, or song, you can return to the essence of this experience whenever it serves you and become more and more acquainted with shifting your perception beliefs to those that more align with you. You are welcome to continue exploring this experience for the remaining quiet moments and beyond. Embrace it and be well.
Welcome back, everybody. Reconnecting to the world without from the world within. And as you go about your day today, the opportunity in front of us is to begin to observe and even experiment to see if we can connect to that self-trust inside of ourselves, to not need to know what's going to happen before we feel good, before we feel secure, before we feel confident and competent, but rather to know that whatever shows up today, we will have the wisdom, the fortitude, the creativity to be able to address it head on, to be able to handle it gracefully and to deal with it in a way that aligns with who we are and is authentic for who we are. See if you can connect to the compassionate part of yourself, the part of yourself that just knows. So you don't have to be a closed fist, and you can be an open hand to the day, an open hand of possibility. It's very easy for us to get caught up in the frenetic and fear-based energy of the world out there, the world without, the world of effects. We call it the world of effects because the world we experience out there is simply the effect of our inner world, of the world of ideas, the world of imagination, the world of creativity. It is this inner world of imagination and creativity that creates the world of effects, the world we experience. It's our ideas. Fear is an idea. It's like the Mark Twain quote that I've referenced many times. My life has been filled with horrible tragedies and misfortunes, most of which never occurred. This is the power of our mind. This is the power of our imagination. This is the power of the world of ideas. And we as creators create the conditions for our own suffering through the nature of our thinking and our belief systems. So today, as you go out, see if you can experience and relate to the happenings of the day from a different place, not from one of fear and hedging and fighting and protecting, but one of openness, one of possibility, and one of self-trust, knowing that whatever occurs today, you've got this. I want to wish you all a wonderful day, and we will be continuing our meditations tomorrow morning. See you then.